Okay, hello and welcome to Mr. Gill's Science Stuff for this video on defence mechanisms of the human body. This is a GCSE video aimed at GCSE students, so let's crack straight on. So what we're going to be covering today is this part of the syllabus, the human defence systems. So by the end of this video you should know about both our external defences and our internal defences. The internal defences are far more complicated. The immune system is a very complicated and wonderful thing, but quite often an exam question will ask you about the external defences, and you've got to bear in mind when and where to write about those. There will be a separate video on exam technique and exam questions for this lesson. So, here are objectives. First thing, the non-specific defence against pathogens. Remember from the last video, pathogens, anything that is infectious and causes us illness, a microbe that causes us illness. And then the immune system, the specific defence mechanisms against pathogens, so why we get better after we get ill. So, non-specific defence systems of the body are fairly self-explanatory. Essentially anything that keeps your insides in and your outsides out. Okay, so you've got on your syllabus the skin, the nose, the trachea and bronchi, and the stomach. And having a diagram like that to hand to revise from is very useful. You've also got there the white blood cells in the blood, which we're going to get to in a little while, and of course platelets that aren't specifically mentioned on the syllabus, but they're the part of your blood that lets your blood clot. So if your skin is cut, then you don't have an open way for bacteria to get in. Okay, so the ones you have to know, the external defences. First up, the skin. Pretty obvious what that does. Right, that is a scanning electron micrograph of human skin with some bacteria on top of it. The yellow bacteria are Staphylococcus bacteria, and as you can see, the blue skin underneath just creates a barrier. Okay, so the skin, the outer layers are dead, they're waterproof, they're full of this protein called keratin, which stops bacteria from getting in. So literally a wall. Okay, very simple. Also, the secretions that you produce onto your skin, so your sweat is slightly acidic, and those acidic conditions reduce bacterial growth. So that's your skin. You've also got the stomach acid. Pretty obvious how that works as well. Anything you eat, there's a really easy way for bacteria and other microbes to get in, is through your mouth, through the things you eat, is into your stomach. Now this thing is called the acid barrier. Your stomach produces hydrochloric acid, and as a GCSE student you should know specifically which acid it is that's getting produced. There's also protease enzymes in there that help break down anything that hits that acid barrier. So you only get food poisoning or any sort of gastric infection if the bacteria or the viruses only get beyond the acid barrier, but mostly the acid clears up the majority of things. You've then got the mucus and the cilia in the lungs, which I'm sure you've come across before. These are the tiny little hairs on the inside of your lungs. They waft and push any dirt, bacteria, viruses out of your windpipe, out of your trachea, once they've been stuck in the mucus that lines those pipes. Okay? If anything gets down deeper or manages to invade the cells, that's when you get an upper respiratory tract infection, a cold, a cough, a virus like coronavirus. So, the mucus and cilia in lungs you've probably come across before in the context of smoking, because cigarette smoke paralyses them and makes it far more likely that an infection is going to get deeper into the lungs than it should. So, those are your external defences. Very, very straightforward. And they basically keep out 99.9% at least of the pathogenic bacteria that could potentially cause you a problem. Okay? So, if a pathogen gets beyond them though, there has to be another sort of fallback, an internal defence system, and that's your immune system. So your immune system's job is to find bits of, find organisms, find cells that aren't you, and to kill them. Okay? Please don't say fight them. Okay? It's not a battle. It's not, they're not swords and shields. I know that's kind of what it feels like, and how a lot of media will describe the immune system. But for exam purposes, please say kill them, not fight them. Right? It's not literally a battle with swords and shields and so on and so forth. So, this is the bit of syllabus, what you have to know. You have to know that within your blood is basically where the immune system lives, and it's generally in the form of white blood cells and associated proteins. Now you don't have to know all of the white blood cells and what they do and how they interact. You get more of that at A level and more again at degree. You are explicitly supposed to know about phagocytes, phagocytosis, and then the cells that produce antibodies and antitoxins. They're called lymphocytes. Okay, so that's the syllabus, so let's crack on through. First ones, this is how your white blood cells defend against pathogens in terms of phagocytosis. Now phagocytosis is literally where these big tough white blood cells called the phagocytes come along and eat or consume, envelop, ingest the pathogen. So you can see a few images there, one animation, and those two on the side of the screen there are time-lapse of phagocytes actually consuming another cell on a dish. As you can see, they extend their cytoplasm around them, take them inside into a little enclosure where they break them down using enzymes and acids, and they are very, very effective. They will have a go at pretty much anything as long as they recognise that it's not part of you. And that's the trick. So they're big, they're tough, they're powerful, they're always around, they can break down most things, but sometimes a pathogen can hide from them. Okay? So that's where the next step come in. That's where the cells that produce antibodies come in, and these are called the lymphocytes. Okay, so you've got phagocytes and you've got your lymphocytes. Those are types of white blood cell. Now, please get the green word and the red word round the right way. Antibodies are very special proteins that lymphocytes can make in response to antigens. And what antigens are the shapes on the outside of a pathogen. So here we've got pictured a virus. Okay, now these little blobs on the outside, they're little protein spikes, and they're what the virus uses to get into your cells. Okay, and it's those that the antibody will stick to. Okay, and this antibody here has been specifically manufactured to stick only to that antigen. I know it's confusing because those words are very similar to each other, but you do have to make sure you get them the right way around. So, antibodies work by binding to the antigens, and what they do is they basically stick them together. So particularly useful if you're talking about a virus, because viruses are tiny. Okay, if you want phagocytes to go and fight viruses, sure they can do it, but consuming viruses one at a time is like trying to fight an ant's nest with a broadsword. Okay, it's a very inefficient way to do things. Okay, so they label them up so the phagocytes can grab them more easily, clump them together so they can be destroyed by phagocytosis, or the antibodies themselves can disrupt the viral particles or bacterial particles. Also, if those spikes are covered up, that virus is not able to infect one of your cells, so the virus is effectively immobilized. Okay? And those are antibodies. So, you need to have a special antibody for every antigen. So in your blood, there will be cells there to produce every single antibody for every single antigen that your immune system has ever had a reaction against. So as you can see here, this is represented by the little triangles on the green cell, the little squares on the blue, and the little purple on and the little circles on the purple one. Okay? So, to summarise, phagocytes, big, strong, tough things that can digest pretty much anything, as long as they recognise it's not part of you. But some pathogens are clever and can hide. Lymphocytes come along and they can manufacture antibodies. Okay? Those antibodies are specific proteins, but they are specific to the particular pathogen that's in your body. And antitoxins work in pretty much the same way. Special cells produce antitoxins, and those antitoxins bind to the toxin molecules, take them out of circulation and stop them from poisoning your cells. Okay? So, moving on quickly, so if all that is so clever and so efficient, and it is very, very clever and very efficient, why do we all feel ill now and again? Well, essentially it takes a few days to produce enough antibodies to destroy the pathogen. And if you've got ill, it's because you've encountered a disease that your immune system has never encountered before. So every time you have a cold, it's not the same cold as you had before. So for example, if you had a cold and your friend was laughing at you and you decided to, play a prank on them by licking their spoon before they ate their dinner, right, then you might give them a cold. If they tried to do the same thing back to you, it wouldn't work because you would have already manufactured the antibodies to fight that particular cold. It's why when a new disease pops up, it sweeps so quickly through a population and then dies down as immunity builds up. So, once a pathogen's been destroyed, the antibodies don't all disappear. A few of those lymphocytes stick around, they go to sleep, about a quarter of them, and form what's called memory cells. Those are there if that pathogen ever comes back, that pathogen ever reinfects you, and makes the immune response really, really quick. So you get infected a second time, and you would destroy that pathogen even before you knew that you had it. If you can do that, that's called being immune. That's what immunity is. Okay? So, in the summary, how does the immune system work? Well, here's our virus with its antigens on it. So the little triangles, the red triangles, are antigens. Okay? Now, that will first be spotted by a roving type of lymphocyte. The phagocytes will be having a go as well, but they can't get them all. There's a special type of lymphocyte called a helper lymphocyte that will take a sample to the lymphocytes that can manufacture antibodies. So those will be found in what's called your lymph nodes. If you've ever had swollen glands here, that's what's going on. This is where immune cells are being manufactured, and these lymphocytes start to create antibodies. Okay? Once they've created those antibodies, they've released them. And bear in mind this takes a little bit of time to manufacture the right cells, manufacture the right antibodies. Once they've been released, okay, then they go back to the viruses and they stick the viruses together like so. Okay? Once you've got a lovely big clump of inactivated viruses, it's very easy for our phagocyte to come along and take them all away. Okay? So that's a summary of how your body's defense system works. I'll do another video very shortly on some of the exam questions that you might get. So if you are particularly interested in COVID, the reason we're having to do this from home, then have a look at the rest of the channel, and there will be some videos appearing specifically on that virus. Okay, thanks very much.